Welcome back, everyone, to another Frostborn update-ish style video. Now, I apologize for the long delay on this video. I wanted to wait until I at least unlocked the class before releasing the video, because that would be kind of weird if I released a video and was like, look guys, new update, but didn't get the actual new stuff. So, here we go. New class, with gameplay, and all of that in Frostborn. Let's get to it. But first, if you haven't already, consider subscribing. Trying to hit a goal of 25k this year by summer. Is it possible? Who knows, but you really only know if you try and find out, right? So let's try it. Also, consider joining my Discord. The code is on the screen right now. There's some Frostborn discussion in there. Sometimes I throw in a giveaway. I don't know. Join there. Consider talking about Frostborn, enjoying life. I don't know. Go ahead. Alright, update. Let's go. So, first and foremost, the new class. The new class is called Druid. And Druid is essentially a tank, sort of. So let's start at rank 1. It's medium armor specialization, so not necessarily tank armor, but any weapon damage will deal plus 15% with this class equipped, and at level 1 plus 60 health points. At level 2, which is essentially your rank 3 class, even though it is level 2, it is any weapon damage 30% and health plus 120 hit points. So is that even higher than Protector? Yes, it is. But that's not even going into the class level skills. Let's go into those real quick. The first skill is called Bear Form, which will transform you into a bear. In Bear Form, your armor is increased by 30% of your current equipped armor. The cooldown of this skill is 5 seconds. I feel like that is way too quick. The next one is Crow Flock, which requires you to be in the Bear Form, which transforms players of your family into crows in the area around the druid for 5 seconds. All negative effects are removed from the druid and crows from the moment of transformation. For the next 5 seconds, the druid will gain 30% damage resistance and increase movement speed by 25%. Crows will receive 80% less damage from enemy players and have an increased movement speed, and the cooldown for this is 60 seconds. And lastly, the third skill, Bear Claws, which will require you to be in the bear form. Attack damage depends on your equipped weapon. A hit deals 70% weapon damage and causes bleeding. The enemy will take an additional 30% weapon damage over 5 seconds. So it really depends on what kind of weapon you're using, but that bleeding effect, if you have a good weapon, that's going to sting. Now, the Druid is a good tank, as the thing mentioned, and when you're unlocking the Druid, it will not require you to learn previous classes first. All it requires you to do is put 1,000 mastery points into any class, which will then unlock Druid 1. Druid 2, I'm not too sure. I'll put that in a pinned comment below. But in order to unlock new classes, they've added something new. When you go to the district and return items, it'll give you these extra points, kind of like it says gift from the gods, which is a really nice buff if you're turning in a lot of points, a lot of purple gear. It's going to give you a lot of extra points with a cap of 10,000, which honestly feels pretty high, but I don't know. Semi-related to classes, there is a little button now on the side, which will now allow you to hot swap between classes a lot better. Now, you can actually pick the classes that are on the side, not the game, which I find to be a very good change. Now, the other major part of this update is, aside from the other classes, which I will get into in a moment, the Sanctum of Odin change. So, first and foremost, there are two new versions, well, one new version per se, which is essentially Odins on easy mode. Once you put in your offering and choose whether you want normal mode, which is essentially what Odins was prior to this update, or easy mode, which I'm sure is like for new players who want to do Odins, or for solo players or something like that, you can't go back. So, meaning once you pick which option you want, you cannot revert back to the other option until Odins resets. The easier version of Odins will have less loot and less enemies, while the normal version is essentially just like Odins prior to this update. Also, Frostborn has moved the cache systems above ground, which I find to be very nice. Now I no longer need to make my way in the ground floor. It's much more convenient now. Now I just go there, redeem, and done. Now, before I go into the real controversy, Inbox now has a quick, almost like filters, which will allow you to pick which item you want. There's like weapons, heals, armor, which is definitely a nice change. I certainly wish there was a search bar, but you know what? This is a good change. And now, right before I go to classes, the most controversial change, which I've seen a lot of backlash on. I'd imagine Frostborn would change it, considering a lot of people are angry at this. Marks and seals are now personal items, which means that you cannot give them to your clanmate who has a very high level district to craft weapons. They're stuck being your items as personal items. Let me know what you think of that change down below. Now, there are a bunch of class changes, as this is the giant class update change. So I'm going to go in the order top to bottom in terms of, like, if you're looking at the class screen. So starting at the very top with tanks, Berserk. The damage resistance against ranged weapons has been decreased, bonus health has been increased, and the whirl attack now additionally decreases enemies' armor by 4 for 5 seconds. I do think that the whirl attack was drastically underused and definitely not needed before, but this definitely throws a wrench into the mix and makes the whirl attack much better. Thrasher now deals bonus damage to players with no less than 50% health instead of 70 as before, so that's a slight nerf. The amount of damage is noticeably increased, so it deals more damage. Bonus health is decreased, which is also a nerf. The stunning barrier now blocks up to 20 incoming attacks and increases your movement speed by 20% while it's active, so that is a buff. And then the leap cooldown has been reduced to 40 seconds instead of 55 seconds like before, which is a buff. Overall, I think Thrasher was drastically underused. Everyone would always play Berserk or play Protector, so I think these changes will definitely spike some use into this class. I don't know whether that's enough to make me sway away from Protector or Berserk, but I guess I'll have to find out playing a little bit more into this update. Next up is Ice Mage. The damage to enemies on the ice path is increased, that's a buff. Bonus health is decreased, nerf, and ice path cooldown has been reduced to 55 seconds instead of 60 seconds like before, so overall buffed, while one nerf. People usually go for Fire Mage over Ice Mage. Maybe this will spice up some variety, but Fire Mage has been nerfed, the bonus health has been decreased, so just a flat out nerf to the Fire Mage class, which I guess I could kind of see. A lot of people play Fire Mage when they play Mage. And Illusionist, the damage to players has been increased, a buff, and the bonus health has been increased too. Again, trying to get more Mage players to play Illusionist over Fire Mage. Now in terms of Healer, the damage resistance against melee weapons has been slightly increased, which is, I guess, just a buff. One tiny little tweak to Healer. Sorcerer, the curse is now more effective against enemy players, and the Circle of Blessing buffs your allies and increases their damage to enemy players, so you're more inclined to play Sorcerer, although I don't still see a lot of people aiming for Sorcerer as opposed to Healer. And then lastly, Shaman. They get a new passive ability instead of an old one. They now receive less than 20% damage from enemy players at rank 2, 40% damage at rank 3, so a definite big buff right there, along with the bonus health decreased nerf. The fear cooldown is increased to 40 seconds, yet its duration is a little bit longer, so just tweaking those little numbers in there. And then the stun rune no longer affects allies. Its area of effect is now wider, a definite big buff to Shaman. I could see people switching over from Healer to Shaman, but again, I really see people angling more towards Healer. But then again, these buffs definitely do sway a lot more people. Now here are the classes that people usually PvP with. I guess let's go to Bandit, since that's next in the order. Bandit, damage to immobilized enemies is increased, that's a buff. Bonus to health is slightly decreased, nerf. The cooldown of the throwing dagger has been reduced to 30 seconds, which is a buff, and the binding rune now explodes quicker, so that's a buff again. I assume that's to get more people to play Bandit. Rogue, bonus health is slightly decreased at rank 2, and Rogue now enters stealth a bit faster, so again, a buff. And I'm assuming that's to get more people to play Rogue, because right there, Assassin, damage to players with no more than 30% health is decreased, bonus to health increased, which is a buff, and then when the smoke screen is active, the Assassin now takes 20% less damage for enemy players while staying in smoke. Honestly, I don't see that that's that big of a nerf to Assassin. I could see a lot of people still playing Assassin for PvP montages or stuff like that. Now here's the big one. Archer classes. The Sharpshooter now deals 130% critical damage instead of 150% like before. Chances to apply criticals were decreased as well, a massive nerf. Bonus health has been decreased, a nerf again. The effect of the freezing shot can now be removed with Dispel, That's a nerf again. And the Loki's arrow needs to travel further now to deal maximum damage. Another nerf. So sharpshooter has just taken more and more nerfs, but then again, I seem to see a lot of people talk about sharpshooter when they say classes that needs to be nerfed, so I could totally see why. Hunter. The passive bonus to movement speed has been greatly increased, which is a nice buff. The bonus health has been decreased, and the mortal shot now greatly reduces an enemy's healing effects an additional 10% per class level. So as you go higher in class, rank 3 is going to have 20% more than rank 1. And then Pathfinder, the bonus damage dealt from a higher distance to an enemy has been slightly decreased, so that's a nerf, I guess. And then the bonus to health has been increased just a little bit. I noticed they specified just a little bit, so probably just a slight buff. Anyways, I think that's going to do it for this episode. I've been doing a ton of recording today, so my throat is going to die soon. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Do you think this class is really interesting? Do you think that marks and seals and stuff is broken? Let me know all of that down below. Maybe the devs will see this video and hopefully bring about change. I don't know. Let me know all of that down below. Subscribe. ZD out.